You know what time it is. Now let's get it started.
Are you kidding me? Unreal!
While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Does he have it? Yes, he does!
And that might be the knockout punch.
Monday nights. Oh man, I know I don't normally podcast on a Monday night, but if you haven't heard, news outside or in the state of Florida is that the University of South Florida is approaching the head football coach at Florida A&M University. So reckless, irresponsible news and information. But if you have not heard, that is the word of the day. Willie Simmons is one of the top candidates for the USF coaching job. And I, for one, think it's a great opportunity. And it's a good look as far as for USF. We've seen that in the past, especially in the Willie Taggart era. USF became kind of had a little mini revival period, and in this time, USF is losing their interconference rival UCF, and so that leaves a void in the conference, talent wise, and just an opportunity for that team to potentially move up. And they are eyeing supposedly the head coach at Florida A&M University, one Willie Simmons. And again, it seems like a great opportunity. And if you look at it contractually, it's a great opportunity for Coach Simmons. Coach Simmons gets paid about $300,000 as the head coach at Florida A&M University, and the head coach at USF. This season, he was scheduled to make $2 million. So for USF, it's a win-win. They could potentially get a head coach at a discount. Hopefully, Simmons, if he does make that decision, doesn't do it at too much of a discount. But they also get a proven winner. And if you ever seen me, watch me on the Fangs Up podcast, one of my big things is hiring people who have done it before and had success. Willie Simmons does that. He's had no losing seasons that I could pull up. The last losing season FAMU had, I believe, was 2017. I believe that was the last year of the Alex Woods era. Simmons' first era, we go 5-5, first year. Every other season, 2-3 loss seasons. That's showing consistency. That's also showing that he was able to recruit and he was able to do well. Look at players like Isaiah Land. Isaiah Land, an unknown player, comes in as a wide receiver, if I remember correctly, and becomes one of the best defensive ends in the nation. Buck Buchanan Award winner. You also have, obviously, Marquise Bell. Marquise Bell does go undrafted, but he's still on the roster for the Dallas Cowboys. And he's been a solid contributor when he's been able to play. You're also looking this year, Xavier Smith, 808 yards on the season, 2 games left, approaching 1,000 yards. And I mean, just look at the man's track record. Where he's gone, he's won. Prairie View, he was a winner. FAMU, he's a winner. Is he going to be the next coach for the University of South Florida Bulls? We shall see. It shall be interesting. But if I'm FAMU, I have a short list of coaches that I am already pulling up and that I am making just in case Coach Simmons decides to make that move. Because honestly, if they're offering him $1 million+, that's probably about 600,000 to 800,000 more than you can afford to offer him. And we're just being honest with ourselves. So if I'm looking at it, my number one is Coach Black. We understand that he's with the Los Angeles Rams. He's got a great opportunity there in the NFL. And because of that, I would kind of be hesitant to expect him to just leave that to come back to FAMU for $275,000, maybe $300,000 position. Now, my true coach, the coach that if Coach Simmons were to leave me, and I'm not saying I want him to go. I like Coach Simmons. I want him to stay. I was there this morning during the call. Again, I like Coach Simmons. I'm a Coach Simmons fan. But if I'm looking at any other coach, it's Gabe Giradina, Albany State's coach. Why? Well, because he's a good coach. He's done a lot with a little. And he's not single-handedly, but they've turned that program into a consistent winner. They just lost the game this past weekend, but when you watch them play against FAMU, that's a tough game, and it was a good game. So just saying, that's the word on the street. That is what the street committee is saying, that, hey, Coach Simmons is a candidate for the USF job. The top candidate that has been laid out there has been John Gruden, and I'm going to be honest with you. If I'm USF, there's no way on this side of hell I'm going to offer John Gruden a contract, especially after what happened with the Las Vegas Raiders. And I'm not besmirching the man's name. We're calling spades spades. Call a spade, call a heart, a diamond, and a club, so that when we get on the table, we can win. That track record is not sit well, especially when you consider the majority of the players that you're recruiting are black and brown. I'm just like, let's be honest about this. So if you're USF, John Gruden's name does not come up. Now, Willie Simmons, I think that's a great option. Do I think he is your number one option? Potentially. If you're recruiting within the state of Florida, as far as head coach wise, he's one or two. And I think 1 and 2, if you're USF, are both in Tallahassee. I'm just going to say it. If it's not Willie Simmons, it's Alex Atkins. If I'm Florida State, I got questions. Because it's one of those two guys. Alex Atkins becomes the offensive coordinator, and with a questionable offensive line of Florida State, single-handedly turns that into an offensive line that's competent and that's decent and continues the run of having good, or starts a run of having a good offense. Florida State looked competent. They hadn't looked this good in years offensively. So I'm just going to say, that's the news. The news and the reckless speculation that has gone out there is that FAMU's coach Willie Simmons is being enticed by the University of South Florida. And if you didn't watch the Why Not Us documentary, go watch it. In that documentary, Coach Simmons says, hey, if a bigger school offers, I got to listen to it. I mean, the same thing you heard Coach Prime say is the same thing Coach Simmons has stated. If a bigger school offers me, I have to take that opportunity. I have to at least look at it. Tallahassee will always be home. Tallahassee, Quincy area will be home. My family's from here. But you cannot tell me that is not a great deal where within 3 hours, I can still be home. You're not traveling across the country. You're not leaving your recruiting base. You're not breaking relationships that you've already created with recruits. And you have, as I talked to Coach Simmons this morning, one of the best recruiters I feel like the best recruiter, but one of the best recruiters in HBCU athletics. And then you give him a bigger platform with more resources. That's a problem. And USF is a really good recruiting program. They just suck as a football team. So now you give the guy an indoor practice facility, which FAMU does not have. You give him, and it's a new, USF is building a new indoor practice facility. You give him their standalone facility that they have. And then you give him the backing of the city of Tampa, as well as the potential to play in the NFL stadium. Yes, Bragg is brand new, but let's call it what it is. It ain't that. You have potential to now have a coach who can recruit, who can win, and who can draw in talent. And you're giving him the backing of a fan base that is ready to win at a large university. FAMU's got about 9,000 students. USF's flirting with 40 to 50. That's huge. That's big, and that's a whole lot of different. It's just a different opportunity if we're being real about it. So I wanted to jump on here before it got too late. I did not want to get to Thursday and be like, why didn't you say something about it? Well, hey, my Thursday is my normal day. But on this kind of news, you got to jump on this early. Again, the reports are, and the reckless speculation is that Coach Simmons has drawn the eye of other schools like the University of South Florida, and that's what's supposed to happen. When you put together consistent 8 and 9 win seasons where you're only losing 2 and 3 games, and at this point in the season, you've lost to the University of North Carolina, who is highly ranked, even though y'all know how I feel about that, and Jackson State, who is, well, Jackson State. You gotta just give it up and say USF may make an offer, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I think between the two people that I've seen listed, Coach Simmons is far and away. I would take him over John Gruden. Gruden may have the NFL pedigree, but Simmons doesn't have the baggage. And that alone is a proven thing. You've seen him manage crisis situation. You saw him within the UNC game and all of that going on, manage to really put on a great show against the University of North Carolina. Now, we got mollywopped against Jackson State. And you've seen other games where discipline has been an issue at times. But in the last 2 games, FAMU's been disciplined. The players have bought in. They seem bought in. and it looks like a better program. And people look at winning and winning track records. And continuously, Willie Simmons has built programs and fixed programs. That's the difference. That's a huge difference. He rebuilt Prairie View. After they built a new football stadium, Simmons comes there, turns Prairie View into a really good program, respectable program, considering where they had been before. Then he comes to FAMU. FAMU had a run of bad coaches. I mean, let's call it what it is. Reuben Carter might have been the best coach we had in a long time. And he wasn't burning down bushes, but it's between him and then before him. I mean, we had that time when Joe Taylor was here. We were good. Not great, but we were good. That's a long time, y'all. And so Simmons comes to FAMU, comes home, rights the ship, and then now he's being looked at by other schools, and you expect that. Again, I ask Dr. Robinson, get your list ready. Talk to the interim athletic director, Michael Smith. Talk to the potential athletic director and see what she wants. But have your list ready, and your list should include Coach Black. He currently coaches for the Rams. He was here last couple years as an offensive coordinator. He understands the offense. He understands the culture. Pretty good. But I'm telling y'all, Gabe Giardina needs to be a call that FAMU has to make if Willie Simmons does decide to leave for greener pastures. And again, you can't get mad at a man who's being paid hundreds of $1,000s to get paid millions to leave. It's not his responsibility to stay here and miss on $700,000 to $800,000 because you wouldn't do it either. If you offered me $300,000 more to do the same job or a similar job, I'd take it, and you would too. So asking Coach Simmons to do something you wouldn't do yourself is irresponsible at the worst. So again, that's the news. That's the tea. It's not going to be a long one today, but I just saw it out there. I even had to ask permission. I'm like, wifey, I know this ain't my night, but baby, I got to drop this out there. So that's the irresponsible tea. Unproven, unfounded. Didn't call Coach Simmons up, but that's the word on the street. The street committee says USF is offering, and you've seen where even prognosticators and other pundits and people who are around that South Florida area and Central Florida area, because USF's really kind of in Central Florida, it's not really South Florida, are like Willie Simmons might be the best option. So just saying, that's the word on the street. And my two best options to put on your short list of people that you need to consider, Coach Black, he needs to be one. And honestly, my true number one, Gabe Giardina from Albany State. So as always, y'all, Fangs up, short, quick, but I said, ooh, the tea is hot and it's boiling. And man, this would be some huge news in the Southwestern Athletic Conference just because FAMU's just getting into a roll and getting into a groove, and you're getting a lot of good news. And all of a sudden you get this to come up. Man, could there be more changes on the Hill, especially on a night where we watch the women's basketball and the men's basketball is going to play in about an hour or so. As always, y'all, Fangs up. Big shout out to HBCU Digital Network, Cable Busters, and Herb Stewart, the Black Techies. And he's going to be going live on Friday, 6 o'clock, doing a little space, his space on HBCU basketball. As always, y'all, this is Fangs Up, and thank y'all who joined in on the impromptu show there.